The early hours of 10th of September 2000, and Operation Baras is about to begin. Commandos from Britain's elite fighting force, the SAS, are preparing to engage in one of the boldest rescue missions in modern history. A mission so dangerous that in the coming hour, these soldiers expect severe casualties. They will be flown deep into the jungle of Sierra Leone, West Africa, in an attempt to release British Army hostages held for more than 2 weeks. The hostage takers are known as the Westside Boys, a gang of notorious killers who are well armed and ruthless. What happens as the rescue attempt unfolds has always been a closely guarded secret. Now, the story of the SAS's mission and the terrible days of captivity endured by the hostages is told on television for the first time by the people who are there. For one of the hostages, it is a story of survival in a living hell.
I made up my mind that whatever pains these people might inflict, if I'm going to die, then I must accept it as a soldier. And that was what kept me alive. Terrible, really.
It's daybreak, and many of the rebels guarding the hostages are sleeping off the effects of a night of heavy drinking. They've emptied crates of beer that have been supplied by British negotiators to make them a little less battle-ready. But these will be no pushovers for the SAS. The gang is armed with everything from AK-47s to anti-aircraft artillery. And many are hardened ex-soldiers, conditioned by countless atrocities against men, women, and children. The Westside Boys are a relic of a merciless civil war that had paralyzed Sierra Leone through the 1990s, leaving thousands dead or brutally maimed. The ultimate prize was not political power, but what came with it: control of the country's rich diamond mines. Murderous gangs like the Westside Boys caused the international community to fear the total collapse of the country.
We saw Sierra Leone threatened by vicious thugs motivated by criminality, by money, by power.
In late August 2000, British Defence Secretary Geoff Hoon was faced with making the high-risk decision to send in troops to attack the Westside Boys and free their British captives.
The Chief of the Defence Staff briefed me about the operation. He could not rule out British deaths, and it was a difficult judgment in the light of that advice as to whether or not we should go ahead.
It is the 17th day of imprisonment for the 6 British Army hostages in the rebels' hands. If it is a day like any other, then these men of the 1st Battalion, Royal Irish Regiment, could face a severe beating or a mock execution. Their commanding officer is Major Alan Marshall. It was his decision that led to their capture, and only his ingenuity and quick thinking that has kept his men alive throughout the worst of their ordeal. But nothing that's happened to the British compares to the savagery unleashed against Lieutenant Musa Bangura, a military liaison officer attached to Marshall's patrol. He has routinely been beaten and hacked to unconsciousness. His terrible injuries left to fester in the worst of conditions. On the morning of the SAS rescue attempt, Musa Bangura is close to death. Operation Baras takes flight in 10 minutes. One of the first to be dropped into the Westside Boys' stronghold will be Bombardier Brad Tinian. This is his first combat mission for the SAS. But even for the most experienced commandos, the attack will be a leap into unfamiliar territory. The SAS is famed for its use of stealth, attacking with the element of surprise. But Operation Baras will be a full frontal assault, jumping from large, noisy helicopters that are easy to shoot down into the heart of a camp that is heavily defended. The SAS mission is the climax to a chain of events that began 17 days earlier. A routine convoy of 3 British Army Land Rovers was returning to base near Freetown, the capital of Sierra Leone. The patrol consisted of 12 soldiers, 11 British, and Musa Bangura, then a lieutenant in the Sierra Leone Army.
We've been together for over 2-3 months, so I know most of them. I know Major Alan Marshall, Captain Laverty. In fact, Captain Laverty was my counterpart. He was the appointed liaison officer.
As the convoy approached a roadblock manned by UN peacekeepers, Major Marshall was about to make a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life: to divert his patrol off its planned route.
Speak English.
Major Alan Marshall spoke with the commander. We were still in our vehicles. After about 2 minutes, he came back into his own vehicle and we diverted.
Marshall and most of his patrol still serve in the British Army and are unable to speak publicly. However, the story of what happened next has been pieced together with the eyewitness accounts of Musa Bangura and another key player, Lieutenant Colonel Simon Fordham, who was then Marshall's commanding officer.
His liaison with the Jordanians was valid. He did that for perfectly proper, viable military reasons. And whatever Alan did and does as a military officer, he does because he perceives that to be the correct course of duty. There's no question of any map reading error. There's no question of not knowing what he was doing.
The British patrol had entered a territory known as the Okra Hills. Musa Bangura knew immediately that they were gambling with their lives in a place where extreme violence had become a way of life. Musa had good reason to be fearful. Years earlier, he had witnessed a failed mutiny in the Sierra Leone army. The rebellious soldiers were thrown out, but many had ganged together, eventually calling themselves the Westside Boys. They were united by a common grudge, especially against serving military officers.
I started asking Captain Laverty, can he call the OC and ask him, say I'm concerned, where is he taking us? This area is a Westside Boys infested area. If they see us, they will definitely open fire without even asking. He never called, really. That was the unfortunate thing. Except when we are almost in trouble. That was the time he wanted to call the OC, but by then it was too late.
Please! Sorry, tactical, not ahead. Hold on! Maybe just a roadblock. Put your weapons down. Figure out what this is.
It's not a roadblock. This is a fucking disaster.
The patrol's path was cut off by a group of about 50 rebels, led by a commander called Captivity.
Good morning.
Welcome. What's your mission?
British Army. Here to invite your men to attend retraining.
Wait a minute.
Even by the horrific standards of the Westside Boys, Canterbury was violent and unpredictable.
Okay. You come without permission.
No. We're here to make you an offer. To offer your men the chance to retrain
We're here to take my men away.
No. This is a humanitarian mission. We need to report on the well-being of the villagers here.
We are very well, thank you. And who the fuck are you?
My name is Major Marshall. We've been on patrol up to the Jordanian UN post in Masiaka.
Why not stay on the highway? All this Westside territory.
We have a responsibility.
It's your responsibility to do as you're told. You shoot, you all die.
Corporal!
We have a 50 caliber weapon, big weapon. And one of the soldiers really wanted to open fire. I saw the OC giving him instructions. I think that made him not to shoot. But he really wanted to shoot. He was brave.
Order your men to hand over all weapons. Now.
We can't do that, I'm afraid. In the interest of safety, I'm going to ask my men to put down their weapons. They cannot surrender them.
I'm not debating you, British Army. Now.
Okay. Give me a moment to talk to my men. I'm going to ask you all to disengage and hand over your weapons. Sorry about this, everyone. Just need to sort this out. Shouldn't take long. We'll be back on our way. Here. Can we talk now?
Get their weapons and get their ring!
Come down!
They were now searching these vehicles, ripping them off with radios, weapons, ration, everything. I was an enemy to them because I took these British guys into their camp. So to them, I'm a traitor. So they can treat me worse than these guys, and that was what they did.
Canterbury had first met Musa Bangura when they trained together in the Sierra Leone army. Now he was about to renew their acquaintance in the most brutal way imaginable.
They came to our own vehicle where I was, and they found me. It was like they found riches from nowhere.
Lieutenant Bangura, so you brought the British here to attack us?
No, I didn't.
They did not ask me anything, and I did not tell them anything. There was no way I could talk. Everybody was having his own taste of me. Somebody brought a razor blade, just tear off my back, in my face, scratch everything. I was dripping in blood. They are not listening, or they are not ready to listen to you. They were shouting. You can't say anything to them.
The British patrol was taken across a wide river to Gaberi Bana, once a peaceful village, but now a Westside Boys stronghold.
Musa,
Jesus.
All right. Listen. They're going to be back soon. I'm going to be first to die. So try and negotiate your own release.
I won't let them kill you.
Out! Now! Now! Move, walk. Move. Move!
After standing for hours in the hot afternoon sun, the hostages had their first encounter with the rebels' leader, Brigadier Fode Kale. He was an ex-army corporal and a notorious torturer and murderer.
Who's the commanding officer?
I am.
What's your name?
Who the hell did this?
Get your fucking hands off! Whoa, stop. Okay. Captain, turn around. Relax, Captain, will you? Relax. Name?
Major Alan Marshall. 1st Battalion Royal Irish Regiment. And you are?
Fode Calais, Brigadier, Westside Boys, whose land you stand on.
You must release us at once. And this man needs medical attention now.
You are my prisoners until your freedom is negotiated. Lock them up.
What's the job? Find
a place for him.
Mademoiselle.
Lieutenant Musa Bangura.
From now on, Camp Commandant Kontabi was to personally supervise Musa's torture.
He said he's going to introduce me to the camp. They tied me up, my hands behind my back with my feet, and they dragged me out.
Musa's induction was to be at the hands of the Westside Boys' child soldiers, some of them as young as 8.
They brought in dozens of these small boys. They call them SBUs. It's like a small boys unit. Those boys will take anything from branches of trees to whatever, canes, and they will beat you until these branches or canes perish in their hands before they will stop. And that was the situation I was left in.
Musa regained consciousness in a so-called dungeon. In reality, one of the camp's latrine pits.
I was kept there for the rest of my stay in Westside Boys. For me, the dungeon is my own accommodation, it's my room, my everything.
The SAS mission to rescue Musa and the other hostages is still 8 minutes away from launch. But members of a small reconnaissance team are already embedded at the very edge of the Westside Boys camp. In deep camouflage, they've been here undetected for 5 days and nights. They've eaten, slept, and worked while barely moving and under constant assault from jungle insects and the soaking tropical heat.
Just great. Sierra Green Alpha, all quiet. Everybody's sleeping off the effects of the hooch.
Roger that. Same here. Sierra Green Beta.
All clear around the target? Over.
The SAS observers have witnessed firsthand some of the abuse endured by the hostages, but have had to remain hidden, unable to intervene. But right now, the SAS rescuers are preparing to board their Chinooks for the short journey to the Westside Boys camp. One way or another, the hostages' ordeal will end within the coming hour. Throughout their long days of captivity, the British hostages have been trapped in a brutal game of Russian roulette with rebels whose violent behavior was fueled by drink and drugs. But the target for their most savage abuse was always Musa Bangura.
You know, I was having so much pain that at some point I never felt any pain. Even when they were beating me, I would not feel pain because it's like my body became immune to the beatings and all these terrible things that were happening to me. And these guys would come in the morning, afternoon, or whatever, whenever, drag me out of this pit, give me thorough beatings, and threw me inside the pit again.
As usual, Camp Commandant Kontabi was on hand to oversee Musa's humiliation.
And they would shit on me because they are using the pit as well as a toilet pit. I have no way to move out because I'm tired. Even if I struggle, I will just go deeper into the mud. So I have to sit still. After they've shit, some of them will come, oh look, you all dirty, let's come and clean him. And then 4 or 5 of them will stand on top of the pit and they'll start to urinate on my head so that the shit will drain off, you know. And unfortunately, that is my accommodation. My food was also in that place. I have to drink some of the mud. And but it's terrible, it's just too bad. It's just terrible. No, I never knew I was going to come out alive in that situation. I never knew that.
As the days passed, Contabee's mood was becoming increasingly volatile. It would lead to one of the most dangerous moments of the British hostages' captivity. Contabee was one of several commanders vying with Fode Calais for control of the Westside Boys. The presence of the British captives gave him a chance to exercise his growing power.
Out! Out! Okay, okay.
Let's do the fresh air.
Now, move. Move!
Good morning, Brigadier.
Why did you speak? Who gave you permission? When you see me, you bow and say good morning, Commandant.
Good morning, Commandant.
Bow! Bow to me like the British bow to Idi Amin. You?
Good morning, Commandant.
These people were fueled with drink and drugs, and also fueled with the adrenaline and the agitation of the situation that they'd got. And so, on the one hand, they would be perfectly plausible, and then, you know, a couple of minutes later, they would be completely off the wall.
On your knees.
Major Marshall really had to be careful not to get frustrated with this or lose the temper or react, because the only reaction would have been that the West Sider would have picked up his weapon and opened fire.
And put your hands on your head! One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Remember your numbers. You will be executed by your number. Ready to fire.
Condemned men are entitled to a last request. No?
And what will that be, Major?
A drink, Commandant. We'd all like a drink.
Why not? Go and bring enough for everyone.
Marshall was desperately gambling that Contabee couldn't resist any excuse for alcohol.
Marshall will probably remain pretty tight-lipped about what happened during that time. Almost every day he came across this kind of situation, and it reinforces this aspect that his approach was to resolve the situation successfully. And at times he was prepared to do it at the prospective cost of his own life in place of the men that was with him as well.
This time, Marshall's quick thinking worked. Contabee walked away to his own stash of alcohol and passed out. The threat for now was over, but their lives would be in constant danger until the hour of the SAS assault. British helicopters have just taken off for a 20-minute journey to the Westside Boys camp at Gaberi Bana. The small SAS observer team hidden at the edge of the camp will guide the Chinooks to pre-arranged landing zones and provide covering fire as the assault force arrives. Meanwhile, the Westside Boys' leader, Fode Calais, remains asleep, surrounded by stolen money, cocaine, and 830 uncut diamonds. This hoard makes Calais one of Sierra Leone's few millionaires. But for all his wealth, Calais' authority is now at its lowest. Many of the rebels intend to defy him and hold on to the captives to extract a higher price from British negotiators.
No.
Something's up.
I don't hear anything.
Really, something's up. Listen.
In the early days after the patrol's capture, British Army commandos in Sierra Leone had tried to secure their immediate release, but had got nowhere. The Westside Boys had not even given any evidence that the hostages were still alive.
Any news?
Not since this morning when they confirmed the RV.
Okay.
But Marshall's commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel Simon Fordham, was about to meet Fode Calais for the first time.
I became insistent that I wanted to speak to Calais because I wanted a reassurance from him that the patrol was unharmed and was going to be released. Eventually, after a lot of arguing with the Westsiders, they agreed to a meeting at 4:30 that afternoon. The key tenet for me on that second day was that we wanted proof of life, and that from every meeting from then on we would demand this, and we would demand an assurance that the patrol was not being harmed in any way and they were to be treated properly.
Colonel, we have more negotiations, eh?
We want this resolved as soon as possible.
So do we.
Fordham was about to learn how difficult that would be.
You bring what we demand.
We have food, water, medicines, and the sat phone. They're outside. Now, when can we expect the first release of hostages?
My commanders here, they demand free education in Britain. You pay.
What?
Yes.
Any idea what it is you'd like to study?
You pass on our demand.
I'll alert the University of London.
I was particularly concerned about was that the patrol was going to be shot and killed out of hand. And it would either be as a deliberate act that Calais would do because he just couldn't handle the situation, or that the anarchy in this group will get out of control, especially at night, and an accident could happen or things could get out of control and the patrol would get hurt. So it was very important that we got the patrol and got these soldiers out of this situation as quickly as possible.
Now, let me talk to Captain Laverty. I want to see how my men are being treated.
They are soldiers, Colonel. They are treated as soldiers.
It was quite clear to me that we were going to have to mount a rescue operation. We might get somewhere with the negotiations, and if we were, it would have to be quick. And that's really the premise upon which we then went on. Oi! You stay there! Stay there!
Hello, Captain. You tell me how you all are.
We're all being treated well, sir. Including Lieutenant Bangura.
You tell everyone we're going to resolve this very soon. We're doing all we can.
Will do, sir.
Captain John Laverty only came 2 or 3 times, and on the second time we had an incident of gaining intelligence which was pretty profound at the time. He came forward under guard to me, we shook hands, and it was obvious that he had something in his hand. I took it away, put it in my pocket, and did it without everybody else was there, but no one else saw it.
Remember, Colonel, never try to attack us, or your soldiers will die. And keep your helicopters away from us.
Was a map that had been drawn by the team of where they were being held, what buildings they were in, where the sentries were, and that was invaluable information because satellite photography can give you where they were, but what you don't get from that is actually what is going on the ground.
A day later, 5 hostages were released. But the story they told of their captivity merely reinforced the need for a rescue mission to free the remaining soldiers.
Half the patrol were released and that was good, but then it became quite clear that the chances were it was going to be much harder to get the other half out. There a lot of information was gleaned from members of the patrol that were released early. The most shocking thing was that both Alan Marshall and John Laverty had been subjected to mock executions in front of the rest of the patrol. We were very, very concerned at that stage as to, what was going on in the camp, and it was going to be important to get the patrol out as quickly as possible.
Above all else, I was concerned about allegations of mistreatment of the British soldiers. There were clear suggestions that they had been subject to mock executions and that they were being abused in other ways. That meant essentially that there would have to be a decision to launch a military rescue.
One final negotiation reinforced the British government's resolve to launch an assault. Fordham's team arrived to find the Westside Boys covered in the blood and body parts of local villagers they'd massacred earlier in the day. Their actions seemed to have convinced Fode Calais that his gang was ready for high office.
We demand a place in the government. The Lome Agreement must be suspended so the Westside Boys could take over ministries.
This is yet another new demand.
No! No! We have a right. We deserve it. A place in the government.
First, I need to speak to Captain Laverty.
Sure. Take your time.
It was quite clear that they were getting desperate, therefore negotiations were going to be harder. And we come to the point, really, where unless there was a dramatic change of heart, Calais was in a position where he was completely cornered. And if this man was pushed too far, then he would summarily kill the patrol, so it was a problem that he no longer had to deal with, rather than give them up and suffer the consequences.
Hello, Captain.
Morning, sir.
News from home. Your wife tells us she'll bring the kids down from Stirling.
Right, sir. I hope they arrive safely.
The rescue mission by the SAS assault force is now within visual range of its target. Brad Tinian will be in one of the 6-man rescue teams whose task it is to reach the hostages before the Westside Boys can kill them.
Oi! About 6 minutes out. You ready?
Think so? Gotta get in there.
No different for the rest of us.
Marshall realizes that the helicopters are on an approach run. The next few minutes will decide the hostages' fate.
Listen up, lads. We need to be ready to move at a moment's notice. Whatever belongings you got left, pack them now. I have time later.
All right, boys, you heard him. Okay, let's go.
Clear at LZ1. Sierra 2, all clear at LZ2, over.
Sierra 1, roger that, Green Alpha. Lima Zulu 1 clear.
After 5 days in hiding, the SAS observers now get their first chance to go on the offensive. They move to forward positions to guard against any attempt by the Westside Boys to kill the hostages before the rescue team can reach them. As the Chinooks get closer, Musa Bangura is being guarded outside Calais' house.
But the sounds of the helicopters will gradually increase, until when they heard it, they all stopped talking and ran to Calais' house. Knock, knock, knock. They knocked on the door. We fired helicopters, it's like people want to attack us. And all of a sudden, Calais woke up, he ran outside, he tried to call his commanders. But by then it was too late.
Brad Tinian is hit by a single round. He's the first SAS rescuer to be injured. Fode Calais' reign of terror has just ended. He's one of the few rebels to give up without a fight.
Everyone here?
All 6 British, all except Lieutenant Musa from Sierra Leone.
Where can I find him?
You're back out on the veranda. You look left, it's a large white building. He's in there.
Okay, everyone all right? Aye. Stay here until I get back. Here.
The end game is about to play out for Captivity. He is recognized by the SAS commando who'd acted as a bodyguard during the earlier hostage negotiations. "50 meters away, Musa is trapped under wreckage as Calais' house collapses during the attack.
I was there until when I heard voices calling my name, Musa, Musa.
Musa! Musa!
That time I recognized that these are British voices.
Don't move! If you move, I shoot!
I said, oh, don't shoot, it's Musa. He had to carry me, I couldn't walk. I was very weak. I was smelly. I wonder how he coped with my smell. Because personally, I could smell myself. It was horrible.
Musa encounters Captivity for the last time.
I was a bit happy because he's the type I would never want him to be in prison. He should not be alive. He was the first person that inflicted injuries on me, and he was the person that indoctrinated me, and that was too much for me, you know?
Right, move them out!
Let's go, let's go!
Move it! Down, down, down! Right! Keep up, stay tight. Anyone gets hit, you keep moving. We look after the wounded. Follow him! Move it! Move it! Major! Weapon! Now! Move it! Go, let's go! Let's move out, go!
With the SAS raid over, more than 60 Westside Boys are thought to have been killed. Many of the others have been captured, including their leader, Fode Calais.
You remember me, you piece of shit?
He will be moved to a prison in the capital, Freetown, but not before rings stolen from the British hostages are reclaimed. Many of the rebels captured that day have since been released. One in particular has not.
My name is Fode Calais. I'm one of the Westside commander.
This is the first time Calais has been interviewed since his capture on the 10th of September 2000.
Some of my men arrested the British soldier, not me.
But you knew about it?
Yes. Later on, they brought them out to me. Then they will be to me for some time, then I will release about 6. And then the balance remain on the camp until they attack us.
Calais is serving a 50-year prison sentence for his part in the hostage crisis. One of the prosecution witnesses at his trial was Musa Bangura.
They were with a Sierra Leonean soldier named Musa Bangura. Do you remember him?
Yeah, Menjo Bangura. Now he's Menjo. He could testify. Yes.
And you think he was treated badly?
Well, he explained himself. I don't think so. He's a soldier. This is war. Without war, this will not be happening. So we allow say, let bygone be bygone. The war is over, and this will not happen again. Let us bygone be bygone. I've said it a long time. You see?
The raid to rescue Musa Bangura and the British hostages hastened the end not only of the Westside Boys, but also the disastrous civil war in Sierra Leone.
If we are not for Operation Baras, maybe we should have been in the same situation as we were 5 or 6 years ago. Because the Westside Boys have grown to so much strength that it's very difficult for any local force to defeat them.
The country was in a dire state, and people were reeling from the internal strife. So here was actually a dramatic situation that had been resolved, and had been resolved successfully, and a lot of the people in Sierra Leone saw the positive nature of that.
It was a blessing in disguise. I was, and I am still personally happy because directly or indirectly, I'm responsible for bringing peace to this country.
It was a tragic thing to happen, but this was an operation to save and support soldiers that were in peril. And, you know, it is an operation that will be remembered.
Major Alan Marshall will remain in the British Army. Lieutenant Musa Bangura will recover from most of his wounds. He will be promoted to Major in the Sierra Leone Army. Brad Tinian will not survive his injuries. He's the only fatality among the British rescuers. The mission to free the hostages held by the Westside Boys is one of the great unsung military actions of modern times. A daring raid that not only saved hostages from certain death, but also helped save an entire country from descent into brutal anarchy.